Hello everybody, and it's Paula, and I haven't seen you since November, so Happy New Year. So my youngest daughter, Sarah, came over last night, and she had some soup and homemade bread I made, and she took the rest of the homemade bread with her, which was Italian bread. So today I thought I'd show you how I make scala bread and Italian bread. And so this is what you're going to need. So I'm going to make two different batches. Okay, so for the first batch, I'm using 7 cups of flour, okay? I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of sea salt. I'm going to use a little bit more than a tablespoon of Flashman's instant dry yeast, and about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm going to use anywhere between 3 and 4 cups of warm water with 2 tablespoons of, I have some raw honey, and I will put that water in the microwave with the raw honey, and that's what we'll use for our liquid. Also, you're going to need an egg for both of these batches, scrambled up. That's what we're going to coat the top with egg, and then these sesame seeds came from Greece. So I'm going to sprinkle some sesame seeds on 1 loaf for the scala loaf. And then the other loaf, the Italian bread, I'll just put some egg wash on it. So I think that's all we need. So let's get going. We'll go over to the mixer and we'll do the first batch. Okay, we're here at the mixing bowl, and we're going to add our instant dry yeast to the flour. I'm going to stir this up, and that will activate the instant dry yeast. If you had the other yeast, then you would have to proof it. You'd have to put it in water and add a little sugar to it for it to start activating. But this, you just put directly into the flour, mix it up, and you're good to go. Now let me get the water and the raw honey out of the microwave that I was heating up. And we want to stir that. So remember, this is a double batch, so I'm going to do another batch. So I'm not going to use not even probably half this water. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use my dough hook. I'm just going to use my paddle. I find it much easier and faster. All right, so I'm start the mixer, and then I'm going to add a little salt. It'll mix it up. That's a tablespoon. Last time my husband said there wasn't enough salt in the bread, so because we use unsalted butter. So let's pour some of this honey water. Whoops. And there it goes. It's starting. Let's do a little bit more. It'll form a ball, a dough ball. We put it up just one more speed. Let's see. Yeah, I probably can add just a handful, not even, just a sprinkle of flour. That's probably the consistency I want. Let's check it out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's get that off. All right, so I'll meet you back at the table once I have the other dough done, and we'll show you what to do and about rising. So I had a little extra honey water, so I decided let me make a third batch of bread. So we have 3, 1, 2, 3. Now these are already coated with the olive oil, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour, just eye it, And I'm going to cover the dough and get it on the sides of my mixing bowl. So when it does rise, it won't stick. So basically, it's going to look like this. I'm going to put it in the pot, and you're going to cut. So you can do two of one things. You can warm up your towels with some, warm water and just like have damp towels cover it, or you can just put saran wrap on top. So I think I'm going to try the damp towels. So once I clean off my hands, I will cover each bowl with a damp, warm towel to rise for an hour. And then we'll be back after the hour and we'll punch it down. We'll knead it a little bit. And then we'll rise it one more time. We're going to rise it one more time. And then the third time that's when we're going to put it in the shapes we want for another hour. And then we'll cook it for about 30 minutes. Okay, so I took my Pampered Chef measuring bowl, which I really like. That's what we measured the water and the honey in. And now I just cleaned out the bowl and put some little towels in it with a little water. And now we're going to, and I heated it up for 1.5 minutes only. And it's warm. And we're just going to cover the bowls with these. Oh, and by the way, my cousin Nina gave these to me for Christmas. So nice. And this new apron I have on was given to me by a girl at work for Christmas. So here we go. And we'll just let this rise for an hour and then we'll be back. Okay, it's been an hour. So we're going to take that cloth off the top and just put it right there. I've got my rolling pin. This is the first bread we're going to do. And it rose. And so now what we're going to do is going to flour your surface. And you flour your rolling pin for later. And what we're going to do is we're just going to knead the bread a little bit. This will help to rise more. Not too much. I think that's good enough. So now we're going to put it back in the bowl, in the oiled bowl. And we're going to just let it rise another hour. And what I'm going to do is I'll be back after the hour is done. I'm going to do the other two breads. And what I have done is I put my oven on 170 and I put the bowls of the bread that were rising on top of my oven. That'll speed up the time a little bit. So this is the second rise, and I noticed when I first did the first rise, I noticed that the towel that was moister, it was the dough rose better. So I had to remoist these two in order to get a better rise the second time around. So here's the second rise. Okay, we're gonna just put it on a floured surface. Now this is when we're shaping. We're gonna shape the bread in what we want. So I'm going to sprinkle a little flour, okay? And this is going to be our scallop bread. So I want to cut the dough, and oh, Charlie wants to go out, 3 pieces. Well, let me go let Charlie out. Okay, we're back. Charlie got outside. He's happy. So, I'm going to take these and we're going to make some long pieces. Okay, there's one. Take a little flour, makes it easier. And what we're going to do with these, I'm going to show you. Okay, and one more time. We want to make sure they're fairly even. Yeah, that's good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is going to put these all like this, and we're going to go like this. It's almost like braiding hair. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. We want to make sure, whoops, we want to make sure it's all together. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the cookie sheet, but I have some parchment paper, and I'll show you this. This is for the third rise. This is what it's going to look like. You see the braids? Okay. So that's the first one. I'll come back once I get the other two done. Okay, so I made a large Italian bread, and then I made two loaves, and we're going to take the warm, damp towel for our last rise on these, and I set the oven to 170. I shut it off, and I am going to proof these in the with the oven off. It'll just make the time maybe a little faster, maybe 45 minutes instead of an hour. Okay, the final rise. There it is. Look at how big they are. So what I'm doing now is I took that egg, scrambled it really good, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to brush, and I put a tablespoon of olive oil in with the egg, and what you want to do is just brush it on the bread on the top all over, and then we're going to sprinkle. This is the scala bread right here. You want to be gentle because you want to deflate it. We want to sprinkle once it's all covered. I'm going to sprinkle on the sesame seeds. I'm listening to the ice, the rain, the sleet. We're in February, and we're in New England. We're having a little bit of an ice storm. So as you can see, I just sprinkled the sesame seeds on top. I'm gonna show you what it looks like before we put it in the oven. So there is the scala bread, the braided scala bread with the sesame seeds on top. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and then I will continue brushing this with the egg and olive oil mixture. And when we come back in about 35 minutes, I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 middle rack. So while we're waiting for the bread to cook in the oven, I did a study on bread, just the word bread from the Holy Bible and the King James Version. And it says, Jesus is the bread of life. And he is the true bread. And in Luke, it said, Luke 4:4, it says that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. And then in Matthew 4:4, it says, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And the last one is in Genesis 3:19. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thy return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shall thou return. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And there's over 300 verses in the Bible on bread. So I was really excited to do this study, and I hope this helps you, and we'll be back when we get to take that bread out of the oven. Also, I forgot to tell you, there's leavened bread, which is, used with yeast, and then unleavened without yeast. And in the Bible, leaven means sin, and unleavened means not to have sin. Okay, so it's been 35 minutes, and so I took the bread out, and it's done. Can you hear that? Like hollow. So now what we do, I put it on some racks. We'll let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then my husband said he'll do a taste test. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes, so I'm going to cut into this Italian bread. It's still a little warm, but here it is, and I'm gonna put some butter on it for my husband, and hopefully he'll have enough salt for him, because last time I made the bread he said it wasn't salty enough. So we'll see. So I'll be back. Okay, John, what do you think about that Italian bread?
Very good.
He says it's very good. So until next time, may God bless you. This is Paula.